Hey there, all you beautiful Broadway babies. Welcome back to Broadway by Ghostlight. Ladies and gentlemen and non-binary folk, please welcome your host with the most, the keeper of the flop musical flame, the man voted most likely to do his own introductions, Mark Bonanni! You're too kind, thank you. No, thank you. Sit down, sit down.
I love you, Mark.
Love you too, buddy. Very handsome. Welcome, everyone, to episode 50 of Broadway Jeopardy. I can't believe we've made it. I've got a lot of people to thank. I've got some really fun stats about the series so far, and some teases of a new series or two coming to the channel, so be sure to stick around after. But for now, let's dive right into our 50th episode. This is Broadway Jeopardy! Looking at the categories for this celebratory game, we start off as always with last week's Final Jeopardy category, which is 50 years ago, looking at some shows that opened on Broadway in 1975. After that, we have special guests. I've recruited some dear friends to read some clues for this milestone game, some of whom have appeared in past episodes of Broadway Jeopardy, and some new faces as well from the world of musical theater. Then we have some returning categories. First up is t-shirts, get your t-shirts. This is a visual category looking at some of the various t-shirts I've worn on Broadway Jeopardy over the year, and you name the show the shirt is representing. Then it's category, where we'll look at some past Broadway Jeopardy category titles, and again, you name the show being referenced. And last but not least, we have shows I haven't mentioned yet. Amazingly, there are still several high-profile musicals that have yet to be featured in a clue on this show, so we'll be scratching 5 more names off that list today. And we end with the Final Jeopardy round, so make sure and keep track of your scores so you can wager some or all of your invisible earnings on that final clue. We start off, of course, with the $200 round, or the overture round as we call it, where the questions are on the easier side of the spectrum to help everyone get on the board before I get all niche with the final clues later in the game. I know, me? Niche? Crazy. We begin with a look at 50 years ago, where your first $200 clue is Riff Raff, Magenta, and Columbia all work for this mad doctor in the Rocky Horror Show. Who is Frankenfurter? There were several scrapped sequels to the Rocky Horror Show planned by the show's author, Richard O'Brien. The one that got closest, it seems, was called Rocky Horror Shows His Heels, and it involved the resurrection of both Dr. Frankenfurter and Rocky, and also involved Janet Weiss and her being pregnant with Dr. Frankenfurter's baby. But the movie studio insisted on Tim Curry reprising his famous role, but Curry was not interested in the project and it was scrapped. Moving on to the special guests category, please welcome the wonderful Jaime Camille, star of Jane the Virgin, and of course my dear Schmigadoon, who has a clue about his first time in a long-running revival.
In 2016, I stepped into the role of Billy Flynn in Chicago on Broadway, where I sang the song All I Care About Is This.
What is love? Here is Jaime again talking a bit about his time in Chicago on Broadway.
It was an amazing experience to be a part of Chicago, the longest American Broadway running show. And, you know, playing such an iconic role like Billy Flynn, without doubt, the best introduction for any character on Broadway. Hopefully I will get to do it again.
Let's head to the merch stand with the t-shirts, get your t-shirts category, and the $200 visual clue. These eyes greeted musical fans for years at Studio 54 during the record-setting revival of this musical. What is cabaret? This show shirt shows a view of the little speakeasy window where in the Sam Mendes Rob Marshall revival of Cabaret is how the show begins, with the MC peeking his mysterious eyes out of the slot. I did get to do a sort of cabaret inception with this shirt, although you can't tell because I'm behind the door, but I am wearing the eyes t-shirt doing the eyes thing. Didn't quite work out. Over in the category, your $200 clue there is the category One Song Glory from episode 34 is a song from this musical. What is Rent? Yes, Roger's big solo from Act 1 of Rent, One Song Glory. Here's a story about what a giant theater nerd I am. I remember on my very first trip to New York, which was in high school with my drama club, and we were seeing Aida with the original Broadway cast, which included Adam Pascal. And I had already listened to the Aida original cast recording a bunch, so I knew that Radamés, Adam Pascal's character, his first line he sings is, "We have swept to glory." And I was freaking out that I was going to get to see Adam Pascal sing the word glory, just like in the song One Song Glory, because of course, I knew Rent backwards and forwards like everyone else my age. And only as Adam Pascal could, glory! Anyways, I don't know if that was a fun story or if I just lost a ton of viewers, but we continue. Finishing up the overture round in the shows I haven't mentioned category, we have the $200 clue. This future My Fair Lady and Mary Poppins star made her Broadway debut in The Boyfriend when she was only 19 years old. Who is Julie Andrews? Yes, Miss Andrews made her Broadway debut at the ripe old age of 19 in Sandy Wilson's The Boyfriend in 1954. After her acclaimed performance in the show, she was sought after by every major Broadway producer, and this led directly to her being cast as Eliza Doolittle in the original My Fair Lady 2 years later. The musical The Boyfriend is a pastiche of 1920 musicals like that of Rodgers and Hart's The Girlfriend. There is a wild film version of The Boyfriend from 1971 directed by Ken Russell and starring Twiggy, but it's a very different animal than the stage show. I hope you were all swept to glory with that first round. Let's move on to the only slightly harder $400 round now. Circling back to 50 years ago, let's look at a play with your first $400 clue, which is this 1975 play, which starred Tova Feldsche as a young Jewish woman who disguises herself as a man in order to study the Talmud, was based on the same story later adapted by Barbra Streisand. What is Yentl? Yentl started out as a short story called Yentl the Yeshiva Boy by Isaac Bashevis Singer in 1962. The stage play adaptation opened on Broadway in 1975, written by Leah Napoleon, and with Tova Feldsche starring as the clue mentioned. The $400 clue in the special guests category comes from the wonderful author and historian Richard Shook, a great friend to the channel. Take it away, Richard.
In my book, How Sondheim Can Change Your Life, the chapter subtitled How Not to Deal with Injustice focuses on this musical.
What is Sweeney Todd? How did Sondheim view the character of Sweeney Todd? Well, let's go back to our resident expert, Richard, to find out.
Sondheim was right that Sweeney is the play's true hero, but he is a truly tragic hero. And his tragedy is that his mania for revenge has no limits. It is one thing to murder Judge Turpin in the name of revenge, but it is quite another to kill innocent people. Sweeney's ultimate tragedy is that in the very name of justice, he himself becomes unjust. Mark, many congratulations on 50 episodes of Broadway Jeopardy. God, that's good.
Thank you so much, Richard. The $400 visual clue in the T-shirts Get Your T-shirts category is this shirt seen here from the Christmas episode has the line, "I've got a package" on it, from this film-based musical from 2007. What is Legally Blonde? The infamous line here, "I've got a package," which, yes, must legally be said like that. I've got a package. Anyway, it's a line spoken by UPS man Kyle, who flirts with Paulette in the show. The original Kyle was Andy Carl, a favorite modern leading man who appeared in Legally Blonde opposite his then wife Orphe, who originated the role of Paulette in the musical.
I've got a package.
Looking at the category brings us the $400 clue. The song Belly Up to the Bar Boys, a category title from episode 41, is sung by this unsinkable woman who survived the sinking of the Titanic. Who is Molly Brown? The musical, The Unsinkable Molly Brown, was the second musical written by Meredith Willson to reach Broadway after the smash hit The Music Man. The Unsinkable Molly Brown has not been seen on Broadway since the original production in 1960, but there have been a few attempts. A heavily revised production starring Sutton Foster and Mark Kudich had a couple of workshops, and a new production starring Beth Malone started in Denver in 2014. That revised production reached off-Broadway in 2020, again starring Beth Malone.
Belly up to the bar, boys, better have a few more. Never whirl with a three-toed girl or a discontented.
Horrible example, like the girl whose name was Carrie.
And your final $400 clue in the shows I haven't mentioned category is: this currently running musical is based on the classic novel by F. Scott Fitzgerald. What is The Great Gatsby? The musical adaptation currently on Broadway has a score by Nathan Tyson and Jason Howland. It opened at the Broadway Theatre in April of 2024 and recently bowed in London last month. The original cast on Broadway included Jeremy Jordan as the titular Gatsby and Eva Noblezada as Daisy. The original F. Scott Fitzgerald novel actually just celebrated its 100th birthday. Speeding right into the $600 round now, hopping back in our time machine set to 50 years ago, gives us the $600 clue. In the smash hit A Chorus Line, the initial 24 dancers are cut down to 17, and finally to this number. What is 8? Yes, Zach, the director, only wants 4 boys and 4 girls for his new musical. The original idea was to have the 8 dancers ultimately selected change every performance and be based on how they actually did during that performance or their audition. But this was ultimately scrapped in the workshop process due to logistics. The costumers simply didn't have enough time to pull the necessary outfits in time for the finale for whoever was picked for that performance. So the ending is now a locked-in set of performers who make the cut, no matter how they perform that evening. Our next very special guest is always rightfully booked and blessed on stage and television. It's one of my favorite humans, Anne Harada.
In Avenue Q, my character, Christmas Eve, is often yelling at her husband, named this.
What is Brian? God, I love me some Anne Harada. And here is Anne again with the origin of her husband's name in the show.
A little bit of trivia that most people don't know is that the reason that character is named Brian is because the first actor to ever read that role was Brian Yorkie, now better known as the Tony-winning and Pulitzer Prize-winning author of Next to Normal. So glad we're a part of your 50th big episode, Broadway Jeopardy.
Let's look at a rare non-official shirt from a musical in the T-shirts Get Your T-shirts category with the $600 clue. This shirt seen here is a literal interpretation of this classic musical. What is West Side Story? Yes, it's a shark versus a jet. I love it. And you can't really see it on the shirt, but the plane has the tag Riff on it. I've always loved this shirt because only a select few people in the wild actually understand what it's about. The $600 clue in the category is: In the song Beautiful City from Godspell, a category title from episode 17, the ensemble sings that they don't want to build a city of angels, but instead a city of this. What is Man? The song Beautiful City was added to the score for the 1971 film version of Godspell starring Victor Garber as Jesus. The song has since been incorporated into most subsequent revivals. And looking at another show I was surprised I haven't mentioned yet with the $600 clue. Pop star and film Glinda, Ariana Grande, made her Broadway debut in this Jason Robert Brown musical. What is 13 is the right response. 13 the musical by Jason Robert Brown opened on Broadway in 2008 and is about a 13-year-old boy named Evan Goldman who is trying to navigate adolescence while dealing with his parents' divorce, moving to a new city, and his upcoming bar mitzvah. Besides future megastar Ariana Grande, her future Victoria star Elizabeth Gillies also made her Broadway debut in the musical. I do have a separate video called 13 Facts about 13 the Musical if you want to learn more about the show and its film adaptation. It's time to turn the difficulty level up a notch or two, but first, you know what's coming. If you're enjoying this week's game, please hit that like button for me. If you've watched a bunch of my episodes but have yet to hit that like button, come on, make today the day. It's a celebration. It really does help with these videos getting shown to more fine folks like yourselves, but also makes me feel like I could fight a shark and a jet. Pew, pew. Thanks, everyone. I really do appreciate it. Such a nerd. All right, onward and upward. Back at the 50 years ago category, we have the $800 clue. The rock opera The Lieutenant, which was set during this war, was nominated for Best Musical despite only running 2 weeks. What is the Vietnam War? The Lieutenant is an interesting case. The rock opera, written by Gene Curdy, Nitra Scharfman, and Chuck Strand, was about the real-life horrific massacre at My Lai during the Vietnam War, where an entire innocent civilian village was murdered by American troops. The incident was covered up by the army for many years until the story broke, and Lieutenant Calley, the man in charge on the ground during the whole massacre, was blamed for the operation, and the entire army pointed their fingers only at him, and he of course claimed that he was just doing what he was told, following orders, and he did just as he was trained by the army. But despite the good reviews the show got, the production only lasted for 16 performances on Broadway, including previews. But it was nominated for not only Best Musical at that year's Tonys, but also Best Book and Best Score, as well as Best Actor for Eddie Mecca, whom you might know from the sitcom Laverne and Shirley, who played the titular lieutenant. Our next special guest reading a clue for you all is a 2-time Tony-nominated actor, my friend Rob McClure.
I starred on Broadway as Daniel Hillard in the musical version of this 1993 comedy film.
What is Mrs. Doubtfire? Rob McClure is one of Broadway's best current leading men, and also one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Not only did Rob create the role of Daniel Hillard / Mrs. Doubtfire in the Broadway musical, but he took it on the road as well with the first national tour. And playing opposite on that tour as Miranda, Daniel's ex-wife, was Maggie Lakis, Rob's real-life wife and another dear friend. We all did the first national tour of Avenue Q together. I did get pictures with every puppet in the show, but my all-time favorite picture is of me and Rod reading his favorite book together, Broadway musicals of the 1940s. Ironing out the $800 visual clue in the T-shirts Get Your T-shirts category brings us... This shirt seen here is from a 2014 musical set in Northern England. What is The Last Ship? The musical, with a score by Sting, is an all-time favorite of mine. I probably mentioned this before in past episodes, but I was dreading seeing The Last Ship beforehand. I mean, it's about a young man returning to the small coastal town in northern England as the local shipyard industry is dying. I mean, doesn't sound like a rollicking good time, but Man, I ended up loving that show dearly, and I saw it 2 more times before its run was cut way too short. I actually had a giant old man rant in the script for this episode about why people were wrong for dismissing it, but whatever, I cut it. You're welcome.
In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and no matter the weave of this life that you spun, on the earth or in heaven or under the sun, when the last ship sails.
Bringing it back to an early episode in the category with the $800 clue. The category title, Art Isn't Easy, from episode 5, is a line from the song Chromolume number 7 from this musical. What is Sunday in the Park with George? If you don't know Sunday in the Park with George, you might be wondering what the heck a chromolume is. In the musical, specifically the second act, which takes place 100 years after the first, George Seurat's grandson, also named George, is an artist himself and builds these art sculptures made of light and color, and he calls them chromolumes. And also, if you don't know Sunday in the Park with George, you have to watch the pro shot of the original production. You now have homework, and I expect a full report Monday morning. And the $800 clue in the shows I haven't mentioned category is Liza Minnelli starred in this Candor and Ebb musical about a fading movie star staging a comeback in Las Vegas as a singer. What is The Act? The Act was part concert and part book musical and tailored specifically for Miss Minnelli. The show went through a tumultuous multi-city tryout, which saw the musical's director, film legend Martin Scorsese, being essentially replaced by Gower Champion, though Champion took no credit for the overhaul. Scorsese and Miss Minnelli were romantically linked during this time, despite them being married to other people, but that's a story for another day. Besides the director, many songs, a huge chunk of the book, a few actors, $100,000 worth of costumes, and 2 alternate show titles were all axed during this tryout period. Though Miss Minnelli won praise and the Tony Award for the act, the show seemed doomed from the start, not only from all the drama coming into New York, but also Miss Minnelli's personal struggles, which led to her missing a reported 10% of performances, but also a shocking top ticket price of $25 for Saturday nights. Madness. Though the act ran 9 months and had the largest advance sales in Broadway history at that time, probably because of the $25 tickets, all its problems prevented the show from returning its initial investment. We've reached that point, my friends. The big show, the main event. It's the $1,000 round. Play that dramatic music. Best of luck, players. Starting off the final round back in 1975 with the 50 years ago category and the $1,000 clue. After the successful revival of No No Nanette, this 1915 princess musical was revived in 1975 and played for over 300 performances. What is Very Good Eddie? As the clue stated, Very Good Eddie first opened at the Princess Theater in 1915 and was an early example of a princess musical, though P.G. Wodehouse had not yet joined the fray. The musical comedy farce concerns 2 couples, one with a tall man and short woman, and the other with a tall woman and short man, the titular Eddie. The couples get switched accidentally and chaos ensues. The 1975 revival of the show, which incorporated many other songs from princess musicals, as revivals tend to do, opened first at the Goodspeed Opera House before transferring to Broadway. And though the 1975 revival played a respectable 304 performances, it did not beat the 341 performances of the original 1915 run, a pretty astounding performance run for the time. Our final special guest is responsible for the best TV show of all time for musical theater nerds. I'm of course talking about the Schmiga man himself, Cinco Paul. Take it away, Cinco.
Hi there, and congratulations to Mark on your 50th episode. In season 1 of Schmigadoon, Melissa and Danny Bailey remark on Falling Blossoms, a nod to the bench scene from this classic musical.
What is carousel? Thank you so much for that, Cinco. The bench scene is a landmark moment in musical theater. Here again is the one and only Cinco Paul with some fun behind-the-scenes info about filming that scene in Schmigadoon.
A little behind-the-scenes tidbit. The blossoms in the TV show were created by a visual effects guy standing on a ladder just outside of the frame, holding a basket of blossoms with a giant fan. And the take we used for the show of Cecily and Aaron shows Cecily's genuine reaction and amusement at the amount of blossoms coming down in that take.
No, I'm just here to look around.
You're a funny kid.
Wow, look at all the blossoms.
Happens a lot this time of year. Whenever the wind blows.
Several people in the comments inquired about your next $1,000 visual clue in the T-shirts Get Your T-shirts category, which is... This shirt, seen here, is from this 2006 dark comedy play by Martin McDonagh. What is The Lieutenant of Inishmore? As I mentioned, the 2006 play was written by Martin McDonagh, whose other stage works include The Cripple of Inishmaan, A Behanding in Spokane, and The Pillowman. The Lieutenant of Inishmore is a deeply dark comedy about a man who goes on an insane revenge spree when his cat, named Wee Thomas, turns up dead. This show was insane. I've never seen so much stage blood in my life, but it was also hysterical, something that only Martin McDonagh could really pull off. Many of you asked about this shirt in the comments. Like I said, I'm sorry I didn't respond to you. I knew I was going to use it for this category. Here's the full design of the shirt in case anyone wanted to see the full design. It is one of my favorite merch shirts of all time. Absolutely beautiful. The $1,000 clue in the category is... The episode 28 category, On the Farm, is the title of a song from this musical based on the novel Anna Christie by Eugene O'Neill that starred Gwen Verdon. What is New Girl in Town? As the clue stated, New Girl in Town was based on Anna Christie by Eugene O'Neill and was certainly not a comedy, though it did have lighter moments, of course. The musical score was by Bob Merrill. Merrill, who was making his Broadway debut with New Girl, would go on to write several musicals, including Carnival and Funny Girl, but when New Girl in Town came into New York, Merrill was then best known for the song How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? New Girl in Town was created specifically for star Gwen Verdon and was choreographed, of course, by Bob Fosse. Gwen Verdon would tie for Best Actress in a Musical for New Girl in Town, along with her co-star in the show, Thelma Ritter. And the curtain call clue in the shows I haven't mentioned category for $1,000 is... In the French-based musical Amour by Michel Legrand and Jeremy Sams, a man named Du Soleil discovers he can do this amazing feat. What is Walk Through Walls? The very sweet fantasy musical first started in Paris, France in 1997 before coming to Broadway in 2002. Forgive me as I'm about to butcher all these French names, but the musical is based on Le Pes Muret, a short story by Marcel Aimé in 1943. It tells the story of Du Soleil, a shy office worker who daydreams about his love Isabelle, who is married to a controlling brute who keeps her locked away. One day, Du Soleil discovers his new ability to walk through walls, and he uses this to become sort of a Robin Hood-esque figure who steals from the rich and gives to the poor. The jewel box of a musical was, I think, too light and sweet for 2002 audiences. New York Times critic Ben Brantley wrote in his review that even charming is too weighty a word to describe the wispy appeal of Amour. Sadly, the musical lasted only 6 weeks on Broadway, including previews. I do think this show will be rediscovered in a big way at some point. It's a beautiful little musical. And now we've come to the final Jeopardy round, my friends. Time to tally up those scores and decide how much you want to wager in the category Charles Strauss. One of the giants of musical theater, the great composer Charles Strauss, passed away last week at the age of 96. So for the final Jeopardy round this week, and of course the first round next week, we're honoring the man himself with a category. Okay, has everyone made their wagers? Ryan and Riley? Ryan and JM? Lacey? Okay, here is your final clue. In Charles Strauss and Lee Adams' I and Albert, which opened in London in 1972, the titular Albert is referring to Prince Albert and his romance with this person. Who is Queen Victoria? I and Albert opened at the Piccadilly Theatre in London's West End in 1972, starring Polly James as Victoria and Sven Bertel Taube as Albert. The musical received mostly negative reviews and never made the trip across the pond to New York. A studio recording of the show was made in 1981, featuring most of the leading original cast. And that's this week's game! 50 episodes in the bag. How did you all do this week? Did you do very good like Eddie? Or did you find that art really isn't easy? Be sure to let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you guys, and please give some love to our special guests in the comments too. All very busy people, and I am so grateful for them taking the time to help celebrate 50 episodes with us. Jaime, Rob, Anne, Cinco, and Richard, thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. I promised you guys at the beginning some fun stats about Broadway Jeopardy, so here you go. The final Jeopardy clue from today was our 1300th clue, which is insane. I should publish them all in a book, huh? Including this game, we've had clues about 516 different musicals, as well as 43 plays and 30 different movie musicals or TV shows, as well as some miscellany in there for good measure. The musical with the most clues about it is Hello Dolly, which has had 19 clues in the game so far. It did have its own category, which helps. The musical with the most clues without having its own category at some point is Gypsy with 13 clues. I am pretty proud of the fact that I've never repeated a show-themed shirt in 50 episodes, but that's gonna not be the case soon. I don't have too many more before I have no choice but to repeat. I mean, I only have so many shirts. If there are any other stats you think would be fun to know, let me know in the comments and I can share those in an upcoming episode. I am going to be premiering some new content besides Broadway Jeopardy in the coming weeks. One is really small scale, just 3 to 5 minute unscripted videos sharing different theater related things that I found and enjoy, like a new recording of a song or a piece of art or whatever. Nothing sponsored, just things that I enjoyed that are musical theater related, but might not be on your radar, and I thought if I like them, maybe some of you will too. So that'll be fun. But the bigger one, which is still kind of smaller in scale, is a new series I'm working on called Broadway 101. I'll be releasing a full video intro really explaining it, but basically it's a series of 10 to 20 minute episodes looking at an important performer or songwriter or songwriting team or musical or piece of lore, all from the history of musical theater. And we're starting with the basics, really a Broadway 101. I want it to be a great place for someone new to musicals or wanting to learn more about the history of the art form, and it will also be a fun refresher course for the more seasoned theater nerds out there. I can tell you that the first installment will be about Ethel Merman, but again, be on the lookout for the intro video soon for Broadway 101. I'd really love all of your support for this new content. And of course, there would be no content at all right now without the generous support of every patron over at my Patreon. There would not be anywhere near 50 episodes without their support, and I truly can't thank them all enough. Usually it's just these amazing and sexy people whose name we see each week because they're at a certain tier on Patreon. But today, let's throw up all the names of my patrons. I am forever in your debt. If you want to be as amazing as all these folks, please head over to Patreon via the link in the video description and check it out. I will be doing a celebratory live stream with the patrons soon, so if you want to be a part of that, head on over and check it out. There's also a link to my merch shop in the video description, which is another wonderful way to support the channel and keep the videos coming. If you want to get me a special 50th episode present, you can share this video with family and friends. Another massive thank you to my special guest this episode. I will be back next week with episode 51, but until then, I'm Mark Benani. This is Broadway by Ghostlight. Thanks for playing. Oh, and if you've always wondered what this awesome end music is, it's the overture from the musical Minnie's Boys. You're welcome.